internet, and I do hope this finds you well. It's lovely to be here, and I do mean that very sincerely, because I am stuck up against the radiator and the heating's on. And yes, the Les Paul's back. Main reason being, tonight we do Zakk Wylde. And before we get started, I want to just demonstrate a little bit of a couple of Zakk's signature techniques. Now, first off is his picking technique. Now, it's all about ferocious alternate picking. Very much follows a staccato approach. So, pretty much every note picks. And what I tend to notice is he does go very much from the elbow, so the forearm is almost entirely locked. And what's remarkable about this is I would consider that an incredibly inefficient technique, and certainly if you're one of my students watching this, if you were to do that, I would absolutely kick your ass for it. However, Zakk is about 18 feet tall and built like the Incredible Hulk, and I think what he's managed to do is simply bully the laws of physics into submission. However, for us mortals, I really would not recommend that approach to it. I would recommend taking a more relaxed, wrist-focused approach. Nice loose wrist. You can still get some good attack, and you're going to be able to play for more than about 4 minutes at a time. A second thing to take note of is his vibrato, which is absolutely vicious. I can tend to think of it as death ray vibrato. So you're aiming to get vibrato, ideally about a tone wide, and you're going to want to build up to this. So hit your note, let it start decaying, so hit the note, fix the pitch in the listener's mind. Then bring in the vibrato gradually, and as it starts to die away, you can get more intense with it. Now, Zakk will use his thumb very heavily over the top of the neck to give a sort of an opposing force and something to leverage against. And it really is worth practicing these kind of vibrato ideas with each finger and on each string. There we go. What you'll find is that you, on the E and B strings, you'll want to push up towards the ceiling. For the simple reason that if you try and pull down towards the floor, he's going to yank the thing off the neck. But I find that on the lower strings, I get a much more assertive sound, in what I call it, from pulling down towards the floor. It's also worth being aware of muting, particularly when you're playing them with the level of gain that Zakk does. What you're really aiming to do is try and create a kind of a protected bubble around the note. So what I'm doing here is I've got my thumb, back of my pick hand thumb, resting over the notes on the bass side here. So I'm playing the G, the 7th fret, resting the back of the pick hand thumb over the D, A and E strings, and I've got the unused fingers on my pick hand resting on the B and the E side, E string, so on the treble side. Which means I can get as ridiculously over-aggressive as I want, and doing Zakk Wylde stuff you do want, and still none of the other strings are going to sound because they can't move. Now the exact geometry and topography of how you do this is going to vary from hand to hand and guitar to guitar. But it has to be said that the Les Paul does seem to lend itself to that approach a little bit more readily than my Strat does. And I do think there's some sort of contractual obligation where Zakk is not allowed to play Fenders simply on the grounds he's going to break them. Anyway, on with the licks, and before anybody asks, yes, I am going to do the bit from No More Tears. In fact, we'll start with that. So what's happening here? Then let me play this bit for you. Now this is in D minor pentatonic. The original is dropped down a semitone, if memory serves me rightly. And it's all played across the top two strings, the E and the B. And what's happening here is Zakk is using position 1, position 2, and position 3 of the D minor pentatonic scale. And what he's done is set up a little sextuplet figure just on the 2 treble strings. And I won't belabor the finger because this is all in the tab linked in the description. Obviously, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that. And welcome back. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Good to have you aboard. So here we are then. I'm going to slow that down a little bit. So here we are in position 1. And that's your approach. Now he does that 4 times. And we're taking a 6 notes per beat rhythm here. So I like to count it as 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 3 and a 3 and a 4 and a 4 and a, all alternate picks. Then we're going to move up and do the same thing in position 2. And you see I've actually gone for a fingers 1 and 2 approach there just to make things a little bit slicker. Then it's position 3. Before moving into arpeggios. Now he's going into a B flat arpeggio here, and this is a first inversion B flat arpeggio. So that is 3rd, 5th, root. And he's playing now a 32nd note pattern. So you're playing 8 notes the beat. So you can think as 1 E and a 1 E and a. And we take that up 2 frets to get our first inversion C, E, G, C. Before finishing it with a 22nd fret high D on the high E string. And you really then, you want to give that some vibrato, give it some real sell out. So I'm going to play that slowly. And then as close as these mortal fingers will get me to Zakk speed. And that's really, that's got so many of his hallmarks in there. The minor pentatonics, the horizontal movement, the inverted arpeggios in there. Got a little bit of everything. Right, moving on to example 2. Now this is taken from the Book of Shadows. This is Sold My Soul. And this is in E minor pentatonic. And we start off in position 4. And well, here we go. So I'm starting off in position 4. So now I've got my harmony bend. Make sure you get that quarter tone bend in there on the 8th fret B string. That's your G note, so you want to get that right in between minor and major third, G and G sharp, before coming back down onto your root. And then he does a rather interesting approach where he trills his way up the E minor scale, starting on the B here, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F sharp to G, G to A to B, B to C, before doing a tone and a half bend on the 19th fret note, which is a D. Now that shouldn't work, because that tone and a half bend takes some D, E flat, E, F, which is, we all know, is a flat second in the key of E minor, so that shouldn't work, but somehow or other he makes it simply by sheer force of will and aggression. So let me play it for you one more time. Now moving on to the third example. This is taken from a solo that he recorded for Guitarist magazine way back in 2006, but I do think it showcases his fast approach quite well. To do this one justice, you really want to have your wire pedal on, but mine's all the way downstairs. First world problems, I know. But this is in D minor pentatonic, well, more D blues, I guess. And this is the lick sped up. And what's going on here is a couple of signature legato patterns. The first pattern, so I'm picking the 10th fret and picking the 15th fret, so I'm kind of drawing cross from into from position 1 into position 2, coming back to the 13th fret, then down to the 13th fret B. Now it's actually a 5-note grouping. If you haven't seen my videos before, the way I like to deal with odd note groupings is to use words, because counting 5 to a beat is awkward, but saying the word opportunity, which has 5 syllables to a beat, isn't awkward. So we think opportunity, 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 opportunity. Opportunity, 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 opportunity. And then for the second bar, he moves down to another 30-second notes, where we're dealing with a 4-note pattern. So 1 E and a 2, 1 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a. And you notice he's actually moved basically the same physical pattern across the strings, but because of the jump in pitch between perfect fourth tuning between the D and the E and the major third tuning between the G and the B, we get a slightly atonal sound. In here we'll end up using just a blues scale, but this is something that a lot of players would do. For Eddie Van Halen, noticeably, you wind the clock back all the way to Jan, you'll find me doing taking a look at Eddie's style. So here we are slowed down. And a little bit more like Zakk speed. And then the last example is taken from Crazy Babies. And you've got a little... And slow that one down a bit then. Oh, sorry, I'm getting the phrase wrong. And we are in E minor pentatonic for this one, but we're starting off in B minor. There we go, that's it. You hear that little rhythmic offset. So we've got the call set up. And then we've got this rather neat little idea. So what I'm doing there is bending the 9th fret, pulling off to the 7th fret on the G, tapping the 21st, then coming back onto the 9th fret, and releasing the tap, pulling off to that 9th fret, and coming, bending up, down, pulling off to the G, and then there's my E root note. And then in the second half of the lick, I'm doing a little 5-note per beat again. Opportunity, 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 run. And I'm moving through positions 4, 5, 1, and 2. There's another use of lateral movement. It's a 3-string approach this time, but it's still another idea if he does like moving horizontally through scales. So we think opportunity, 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 opportunity. And then it's hard not to resist the desire to play a heavily vibrato E root note. So there we go. I hope that you found that useful. As always, please do like, share and subscribe. I do apologise about the voice. It's Christmas, so I've contracted Christmas lurgy, of course. Strictly medicinal. Yes, as I was saying, please do like, share and subscribe. Drop us a comment to let us know anything that you'd like to see in the use on the channel. I am rather looking forward to next year's. There's a lot of new ideas coming, courtesy of my good friend Lee, who I will again put a link to. I am in possession of a new PC which will hopefully allow me to actually edit videos. So we should start looking rather more competent and have all nice titles and all that sort of stuff. But in the meantime, yeah, I wish you all the best. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will see you, terrifyingly enough, in 2024. Right, well there we go then. Peace.